Windsor, United Kingdom, September 17, 2025. The ancient halls of Windsor Castle shimmered with golden light as Britain rolled out its most treasured pageantry for a controversial yet momentous guest, President Donald J. Trump of the United States. On his second state visit to the United Kingdom, Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were welcomed with a state banquet of remarkable grandeur, one that intertwined tradition, diplomacy, and political theatre. This was not just another dinner in the royal calendar, it was a spectacle, a carefully orchestrated evening of fine dining, historic symbolism, and delicate political messaging, and it placed Trump once again at the heart of Britain's royal pomp. The banquet unfolded inside Windsor Castle, a fortress and palace whose very stones echo with centuries of monarchs, treaties, and triumphs. The long banquet hall, its walls lined with banners and portraits of kings past, was transformed into a dazzling scene. Rows of tables glistened with silverware polished to perfection, crystal glasses, and floral arrangements designed to signal both power and unity. It was in this hall that monarchs once toasted victorious generals and visiting emperors. Tonight, it was the turn of Donald Trump, a president who has rarely escaped controversy but continues to command headlines with every move. At his side was King Charles III, the monarch still carving out his reign after succeeding his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The symbolism was unmistakable, a newly established king playing host to an American president who prides himself on defying convention. The guest list was as glittering as the setting. Alongside Trump and Melania, the top tiers of Britain's royal family gathered: King Charles III, Queen Camilla, Prince William, the Princess of Wales Catherine, and senior royals whose presence underscored the importance of the evening. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who assumed office amid promises of steady leadership and post-Brexit pragmatism, was also in attendance. His role was more than ceremonial. The banquet acted as the prelude to a formal political meeting between Starmer and Trump, scheduled for the following day. For observers, the gathering brought together three seats of British power: the monarchy, the government, and the public mood, in one room, all converging on the figure of Donald Trump. The cameras captured every detail. Trump and Melania's arrival was choreographed with precision, their entrance announced with formal trumpets and the hush of anticipation. Queen Camilla walked alongside Melania, while King Charles guided Trump into the hall. In a moment that drew attention both in the room and across social media, Trump paused to assist Princess Catherine with her chair, a gesture that, while small, was interpreted as a rare breach of rigid royal etiquette, but one that signalled personal courtesy. These touches of informality, unusual in a setting defined by centuries of tradition, highlighted the unique character of Trump's diplomacy: direct, often theatrical, and deeply personal. When the moment came for speeches, the hall fell silent. King Charles, standing with dignified composure, raised his glass. His remarks blended diplomacy with subtle acknowledgement of the challenges that define the US-UK alliance in a turbulent era. King Charles III said, "We are working together to support important diplomatic efforts." He went further, acknowledging the role Trump himself has played on the world stage. King Charles said, "Your personal commitment to peace is something we recognise tonight." The King's words, delivered with the restraint typical of monarchs, carried weight. For a monarch who rarely ventures into political commentary, the choice to highlight Trump's personal commitment was deliberate. It placed emphasis on diplomacy and dialogue at a time when global conflicts, from Ukraine to the Middle East, dominate international headlines. When it was his turn, Donald Trump stepped to the podium with characteristic flair. Donald Trump said, "One of the greatest honours of my life." His words were directed at the British monarchy, the royal hosts, and the symbolism of the evening. With this visit, Trump underlined he became the only US president in history to be granted 2 state visits to the United Kingdom. It was, in his telling, a validation of the special relationship that stretches across the Atlantic. Trump has long cultivated a personal fascination with Britain's monarchy. His Scottish roots, his mother hailed from the Isle of Lewis, and his ownership of golf courses in Scotland have been woven into his political storytelling. He often speaks of Britain not as a distant ally, but as an extension of his own family history. Donald Trump said, "I am a great fan of the British monarchy." The line drew polite applause, but it also signalled something deeper. Trump's admiration for the monarchy has often contrasted with his disruptive style in politics, painting him as both an outsider and admirer of tradition. Beyond the glittering chandeliers and royal etiquette, this banquet carried serious political undertones. Trump's presence in Windsor was not only about spectacle, it was about diplomacy, strategy, and the reaffirmation of ties between two nations navigating shifting global currents. For Britain, still seeking to recalibrate its international role after years of Brexit turbulence, hosting Trump was a chance to underscore its enduring bond with Washington. For Trump, it was an opportunity to demonstrate that his second presidential term continues to command respect on the world stage, despite critics at home and abroad. The banquet also came at a time of heightened geopolitical uncertainty. From the war in Ukraine to tensions in the Indo-Pacific, Washington and London find themselves shouldering shared responsibilities. The symbolism of unity played out in a royal banquet hall was as important as any policy statement. Yet, as with many of Trump's foreign trips, the evening was not free of controversy. Outside Windsor's fortified gates, protesters gathered with banners and chants, criticising both the royal welcome and Trump's policies. To his critics, the lavish spectacle represented indulgence and normalisation of a figure they view as divisive. Inside, however, the contrast could not have been greater. The toasts, the laughter, and the carefully choreographed seating plan all told a different story, one of friendship and continuity. This duality, pageantry within, protest without, has become a recurring theme of Trump's international visits. Historians were quick to note the significance of this second state visit. Rarely has Britain extended such an honour twice to the same US president. Trump himself wasted no time pointing this out, highlighting his unique place in the annals of transatlantic relations. The fact that King Charles extended the invitation only underscored the importance of continuity. In the midst of shifting political landscapes, monarchs often serve as anchors. By inviting Trump again, Charles signalled that the special relationship is not tied to a single government or administration, but endures across reigns and presidencies. The banquet was just the beginning. For the second day of the visit, Trump was scheduled to meet Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London. The agenda included trade, defence cooperation, and joint diplomatic initiatives. This meeting, stripped of the pomp but equally significant, would test whether the symbolism of Windsor could translate into practical agreements. For Starmer, navigating Trump's unpredictable style while safeguarding British interests was a delicate balancing act. In the end, Windsor's banquet for Donald Trump was more than a glamorous dinner. It was a staging ground where history, politics, and personal narratives collided. The grandeur of Windsor Castle provided the backdrop. The monarchy, with its centuries-old traditions, set the stage, and Trump, with his flair for drama and his insistence on personal legacy, filled the spotlight. For some, it was a celebration of enduring friendship between Britain and the United States. For others, it was an uneasy reminder of how spectacle and power often intertwine. But for the record books, the evening stands as a historic moment, one where King Charles III and Donald Trump raised their glasses not only to one another, but to a relationship that has weathered wars, political upheavals, and changing times.